Hello everyone, Fru here. Welcome to today's relevant read. So guys, in today's relevant read, we're going to be looking at this very fascinating article. How to choose a career that you love, right? So how to choose a career that you love, or the dream job blueprint. So this is a fascinating article, and guys, the author of this article is even more fascinating, Ramit Sethi. So before we dive into the article, I'm going to talk a little bit about Ramit. Ramit is he's a prolific content creator. He has a lot of courses. He talks about financial literacy, and his blog, I Would Teach You to Be Rich, I think it's a little bit eclectic, but fascinating nonetheless, right? So Ramit is definitely somebody you want to be aware of and pay attention to him. I just think that his content, a lot of his content is very, very fascinating, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his content. All right, there's a lot of content on his blog. He just writes amazing blog. His newsletter, which I subscribe to, is also very, very, very amazing. All right, so he talks everything about financial literacy, uh, credit cards, and everything from personal development, make people like you. So there's just a lot of content, personal development, how to richly live life, your career, finances, great stuff. And then also, he has a YouTube channel as well, which for those of you that prefer to watch content on YouTube, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to his channel and check out his content. Let's just play the intro here for a second.
About you guys, but I got tired of hearing expert after expert.
All right. Well, no audio there, but we get the point. We get the point. So he's a very fascinating individual. So definitely check him out. Subscribe to his channel. I Will Teach You to Be Rich. You can see there's just a ton and tons and tons of content, right? Salary negotiation, how to negotiate your salary, how to achieve any goal faster, right? If you go down his list, there's a lot of content, and these are very powerful content, guys. Again, this video is not to sell Ramit, but it's just to say this is somebody that you definitely want to check out, right? And there's a lot of credibility to this article that we read. So guys, let's dive into the article. I'm going to zoom in here for a second so we can see it on the screen. How to choose a career that you would love. How to choose a career that you will love. And why am I sharing this, guys? A lot of the audience, a lot of you guys that are watching my channel, that are following the content, that are following this relevant reads that we've been doing, are thinking about careers. I think everybody has to think about a career at some point, right? Because that's what life is about. We don't come into life just to sit on the beach and sip on wine or pina colada every day, right? We have to do work. We have to build a career. We have to contribute to society. And the way we do that is through the career that we have. And so the question is, right, if you have the option of just having a career or having a career that you love, guys, which one would you choose, right? I would say most people will want to choose a career that they will love, right? And that career ideally should give them enough money so they can live the life that they want, right? So something that you love and something that also pays you to live the life that you want, I think is what a lot of people aspire to. And so, but the challenge is in the real world, a lot of people struggle with making that decision. It's one of the most single powerful decision that you would ever make in your life, right? What career or what pursuit or what activities should I dedicate my valuable time towards or my life towards doing, right? Because that's going to be, at the end of the day, your contribution to this world. So career is very, very powerful. And it's something that a lot of people, for good or for bad reasons, put it as a second thought, right? It's like, well, I'm just going to stumble into a career, or I'm just going to do what my parents tell me, or I don't know what I want to do, so I will just wing it, right? But I don't think that's a good option either. And that's why this article is powerful, and I want us to look at it so we can see, based on the lessons that Ramit has shared in here, or the nuggets that he's shared in here, and I'll be reviewing the article, how to choose a career that you love. Hopefully, after reading this article, and I'll share the link as usual in the description, you will know how to go out and to choose a career for yourself that can help you achieve your dreams, have the financial stability that you want, have the freedom that you want, or whatever you so desire. All right, guys. So the very first thing that he starts with, and this is typical Ramit writing, is it starts out with a punch, right? how do most people choose a career, right? Well, they don't, right? So most people don't choose a career. And what he says here is most people just stumble into jobs, or they just stumble into just doing something right after college. And this is not a good proposition, right? If you think about it, if most people are not choosing careers and they're just stumbling into careers, then it's no wonder that most people are frustrated in those careers, right? So just imagine, somebody asks you, what do you want to eat for dinner? You say, I have no idea, and whatever comes, I'll eat, right? And then something comes to you and you eat it, and then you're surprised why you really hate what you're eating, right? So but there's an alternative to that. There's an alternative to that, and that alternative could be you being very proactive and being conscientious about your career. And it's not just serendipity. There are techniques, there are strategies that you can actually employ to find the optimal career for you, a career that you feel fulfilled and feel good about doing what it is you're doing. All right, and so this is what this article would dive into talking about. Now let's go into the next piece, guys. Like I said, you can always read these articles for yourself, but I think that the introduction here of what Ramit tries to do in this article is to just give us an example, right? If you go on Google and do a search, and you can try, go on Google. Let's actually do this, right? And he's done the example there. So let's go to google.com and do a search of which career is right for me. So what do we see, right? There are answers, right? Actually, there's a website here that talks about which career is right for me. I actually haven't tested that website out, but you get the idea. You get the idea that there are a lot of resources that would posit to tell you what career is right for you. All right. So if you keep scrolling down, right? But what Rami is saying is that there's no magical test. And again, I'm summarizing this very quickly, that there's no magical test that, if you take this test and you finish the test, it will just with 100% accuracy tell you what you should do in life, or tell you to be an orchestra conductor, or tell you to be a bus driver, or tell you to be a mechanic, or tell you to be a plumber, or tell you to be a sales person, or whatever it is, right? There's really no test that you can just sit down for 30 minutes or 1 hour, take the test, and then it's just this magical test with 100% accuracy to tell you what exactly you need to do, right? So given that we don't have that option of a test to give us an exact declaration of what our career should be, the alternative that Ramid is proposing here is, or the smarter approach is to explore. So instead of saying that I'm finding my career, it's really about I'm exploring for the optimal career for me, right? And if you come in with this mindset, and I'm gonna highlight explore here and zoom in a little bit into that. If you come in with that mindset of exploration, then you have a better chance of landing on something that could be better for you, right? You can have a better chance of landing on something that's better for you. So we're not looking for that perfect career or that perfect job that we're gonna do for the next 10 years or the next 20 years. What we're looking for at least at the very beginning too, and it might change as you go through life, is we're looking for to explore the options. As you're exploring the options, you're eliminating, you're exploring and doing elimination. You've tried this thing and you say, nope, that's not good for me, you eliminate that. You try this and say, that's not good for me, you eliminate that. And if you go through that process, over time, you find something that, you haven't eliminated, and that will be the most optimal thing for you compared to all the other options that you have. But if you haven't even explored all the other options that are out there from a career perspective, how do you even know that the current one you have is the most optimal that you have for you? You might like what you're doing, but the question is it the most optimal? Is it the best option that you could have chosen given the available options that are out there? All right. So this idea of exploration is going to ring true very much in this article, and that's why I really liked it. I really liked that idea that Ramit is positing here, and he goes to give this example, and I'll share the example too as well. So just imagine that you're trying to buy a pair of jeans, or you're trying to buy some clothes, right? And you go to the mall, and as soon as you walk into that mall, the very first, or a shopping center, or a clothes a store, and you walk in, the very first piece of clothes that you see on the shelf, you pick it, and that's what you're gonna wear for the next 10 years of your life, right? The very first one that you just happen to land on, that's what you pick to wear for the next 10 years of your life. Guys, most people don't shop that way, right? And he says here, If that's how you shop, it's probably very insane, right? Instead, what most people do is they go to the mall, they make some time, they're trying out a lot of clothes, they try this pair of jeans and look at it in the mirror, nope, it doesn't fit, right? They take it out. They try the next thing and look at it in the mirror, no, it doesn't fit, and they take it out. And then through the process of elimination, then you land on that pair of jeans that just fits and it's just perfect for you and for you alone. And then that's the jean you gotta take home to then wear for the next 10 years, and you feel confident about that decision because you've tried all the other options that you had, and this one was the one that fit perfectly, right? The insane approach should just be to go into that mall, pick the first pair of jeans that you see, and then just stick to that one, right? And that's what most people do for a career perspective. I think this is an analogy, right, where for most people, they just in college, or maybe they speak with their parent or one or two friends, and they decide that, well, in college I'm going to study psychology, and then now they're stuck to that for the rest of their life, right? Or I'm going to study chemistry or physics or music, and then they're stuck to that, right? Whereas they haven't had that opportunity to explore and to try other avenues to even see which piece of it makes sense to them, right? Is music really what you should study, or maybe being a geologist, or being a radio broadcaster could have been a better approach for you. So, but you wouldn't know that if you don't explore. So the mindset here, and I'm gonna keep reiterating this, and this is what I think Sati Ramit is trying to get across is, have that mindset of exploration. Have that mindset of exploration. And it gives us a couple of steps here that to follow. So in trying to find something, so you're trying to purchase something, get curious about what it is you want to purchase, right? Try out a few of those things, right? Research if there are other options, read reviews, see what other people are talking about, right? Talk with some friends, see what they're doing, see what the friends would buy, right? And see if they concur that you should buy that thing, right? And it's not that you just have to rely on your friends, but you're just getting your information, you're doing your research, you're getting all the background information about that thing. Now, once you've done all that background and gotten all the information about what it is you might be interested in buying, let me zoom in here a little bit, then you can go ahead and buy that thing, right? So you do your research. You do initial preliminary research to see the options. You do deep research on all of those options to understand what they are, right? You talk to a few people to get feedback for reviews and such, and their own insights, right? Because other people have gotten jobs, other people have bought things before, right? You don't want to reinvent the wheel each time by yourself. You can certainly try to get all that information yourself, but you can save yourself a lot of headache if you talk to people who've done it before and learn from what they do, right? One of my favorite quotes, from Warren Buffett, and he talks about that, we all learn from mistakes, right? But the thing is that the mistakes don't have to be your own mistakes, right? You can learn from mistakes that other people have made and avoid you making those same mistakes, because learning from mistakes is very painful, right? So if you can avoid doing that by talking to people, by seeking advice, by having mentors, that will help you a long way. So let's put this within the framework of getting a job. Let's actually restate this within the framework of getting a job, the 3 steps, right? Number 1, you're trying to get jobs. You're trying to think about your career or what career you should follow, right? What career you should choose. Why not get curious? Why not be curious? So instead of saying I want to work in tech, right? Or I want to work as a musician, just be curious and say, I want to understand some of the possible career options that are out there, right? Just by even thinking about it, you might eliminate a few of them, right? Because for somebody like me, I could eliminate being a musician, right? I don't have a good voice to sing in the first place, so there's no way that I'm gonna be sitting, at least as of now, thinking of being a musician. Maybe that will change, or something happens miraculously and I could start singing, but as of now, I will not even put that on my list of curiosity. So once you've thought about that option, right, it's gonna be a long list of options. Then now you can go into step 2 and start doing your deep research into the different options. So let's take technology, which is what we talk a lot about on this channel. IT, right? IT itself, assuming that you've landed that you want to be an IT professional, IT itself could be very, very big. It's a very big field, right? Now, are you being a database professional? Are you doing data, big data, machine learning? Are you doing AI? Are you doing web development, app development, front end, back end, full stack, project management? What exactly is it you're doing within IT? It could be very, very big and a long list, guys. So once you've identified the play field, you start researching what does a DBA do, right? Day to day, what do they do? What does a big data engineer do? What does a project manager do, right? What does a web developer do? What does an app developer do? And you can start understanding, right? What does a security professional do? What does an architect do? Now, once you start doing those deep research, and it takes time, of course, it's your career and you need to do the work. Now you can start going to the point number 3 of actually talking to people, right? Finding mentors. Let's say you want to be a database administrator. Talk to database administrator. Find 1 or 2 people that are working in the field. Have coffee with them and ask them, what does your day-to-day look like? Is there any advice? What do they like about their jobs? What do they not like about their jobs? Guys, you can leverage LinkedIn. You can leverage a lot of resources to find people in this area, meetups, to find people in this area that can give you advice about your career or about their current experience in that career. And you're doing this right from the onset. You haven't gotten into the field yet, but you're gathering all this information. Now, once you've understood all of these, guys, then it starts putting you into the framework of making a decision or of eliminating, right? So you explore and you eliminate, right? So the 3 steps that Ramid is positing here is select a potential dream job, right? If you're interested in it, you do deep research, right? If you're still interested in it after you research that particular job, you do networking, right? And you're talking to mentors and you're finding mentors and such in the field and connecting and getting their insights and their experiences. And if you still are interested in that job, then you can go ahead and maybe try to apply and take it to the next step, right? But you see here, it's really a process of, you starting with the broad field and then you're eliminating, right? At any point, if you say no to any of these answers, once you've looked at the job and say, well, I thought being a doctor was such a great idea, but I didn't understand that I need to work 60 hours a week in some cases, right? If you get to that point after doing your research, then you have to understand that, well, maybe being a doctor is not such a good idea and you can eliminate that. But if you don't go through this process, then you might find yourself embracing or landing in a job or a career only to be frustrated and disappointed by it down the line because you did not do your homework. All right. So let's go into the steps. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here so we can see. So the zoom out. So the first thing is just to reiterate, find your potential dream job. Right. He calls it the cloud technique, but again, it's the same formula. Right. What are the list of things that you would potentially ever think see yourself working in? Right. Take a piece of paper. Right. Just and write them down, right? So just take a piece of paper and write down every single thing that you might think about doing. This is a potential. This is not that this is what you do, right? Be it DBA, IoT developer, network engineer, machine learning, AI, big data, cloud architect, whatever it is, right? All the titles, all the list of jobs, just find a piece of paper and write them down, right? So right now you're just exploring, you're just adding all of these things to a list, right? And that list can be very long. Again, you don't have to. This is not your final. This is not what you're going to do in life. You're just doing your exploration here. Now, so once you've had that, right? This will be a cloud, and that's why he calls it a cloud technique. This is just your cloud or your list of potential things, right? At this point, you're saying yes to everything, right? If you're writing something on that list, it's something that you have a potential to work there. You don't yet know if that's what you would actually do, but you just have a potential. So we're saying yes to it, right? Now, and I like how he gives some examples here of where should the ideas come from, right? It's just go on LinkedIn, find people in your life that you know, right? Is there somebody in your life that is working as a professional and you really admire them and you see yourself doing the kind of things that they do, right? And if that person is, say, a sales director, then maybe you should think about being a sales director too, if that lifestyle kind of fits you, right? And so you can really, it's just about looking around your surrounding, right? Just whatever sparks your imagination, you can use that as your source of inspiration for the kind of things that you want to do in your future. You might be watching a movie and you see a detective in there and how they work and how they go about their day-to-day job, and that sparks your interest into becoming a detective, right? Then put that on that list, right? You might be watching and you might see there was a cyber security breach, and as a result, somebody came in and solved it. A cybersecurity expert came in and solved it. And so that sparks your imagination of becoming a cybersecurity expert to protect companies or to protect individuals' data. That could be your source of inspiration. So whatever your source of inspiration is, guys, just take it. Again, we're creating this list, or the cloud technique that Ramit Sethi talks about here, and we're writing down every single thing, right? So what I want us to do at this point is, if you can pause this video for a second, right? I know you guys are watching this. If you can pause this video for a second and just take a pen, take a piece of paper, and just write down, 20 jobs that you could potentially, in any industry, see yourself taking on as your career, right? So just write it down, and I'm gonna, slow down here so you have time to write it. So pause this video if you can, and then come back to it. All right. Now that we have that list, we're gonna go to step number 2 that Rami talks about. The step number 2 is the ways to know how if that job is really right for you, right? So how can you know if the job is a right fit for you? And this is where you have to do homework. Now, going on that list, right? This is where the elimination comes into play, right? So the first thing that you want to do is to do research, right? Basic research, right? You can look at the job and say, well, let's take it for example, the job of uh, of machine learning. Let's say you want to become a machine learning expert, and then in your preliminary research you realize that to be a machine learning expert, they tend to use a lot of Python, and they tend to write a lot of code with Python, and you realize that I'm not so much of a fan writing code and programming, and I really cannot stand it. Then of course that just has to come off your list, right? Because you just need to eliminate that, right? Because that's just gonna be a showstopper right there, or something that will be a barrier for you. So by going through this process of elimination, of doing your basic research, you can start eliminating a lot of jobs, right? But some of them will still stick to your list. So let's stick with the area of IT, right? You've written down on your list, you have project management, IoT, big data, machine learning, DBA, sales engineer, whatever it is, right? And as you start going through, you start eliminating, maybe big data, you eliminate DBA, because you don't want to be on call, or you eliminate something else, right? And then you find yourself that, well, what remains on that list, right? You start saying things like project management, maybe because you're more of a people's person, you're more of a big picture kind of person, you're more of a manager kind of person. So now you can start zeroing in on that specific area, and all the other things are eliminated. All right. So, and part of this research, you should be asking questions, right? What do these people actually do? What does this role actually do? You should be able to state it. There's no reason for you trying to get into a career if you cannot, without compromise, state what that role actually does, at least to a reasonable extent, right? Or be able to compare the different nuances or the different areas within that role, right? For engineering, for example, can have different levels of engineering, right? It could be software, it could be big data, it could be test engineer. There could be a lot of things. So you should be able to have that kind of understanding of the different areas within your field. And then once you've done that, you can also have an understanding of what kind of companies hire people for those roles, right? Let's say you want to be an editor, then you're thinking about a newspaper company or some media kind of company, right? So, but you need to do the research. So first, we're starting with a broad list of areas that we're interested in, right? We have that long list of companies, or not companies, of the long list of roles, whatever role we're interested in. Then second, we're doing our research and we're eliminating the things that just clearly do not pass the smell test, or that initial test. And then once we've done that, then we look at companies that are hiring for those kind of roles. And if you look at, let's say a company is hiring for these roles and you clearly don't want to work for that company or those kind of companies, then you have to start eliminating that role as well, right? But all this research is what you have to do, right? All this research is what you have to do. Now, once we've done the research, and I like how the article goes in here to talk about this, so make sure you read every single line he talks about. Very powerful. He talks about some of the understanding that you should be looking for as you're doing your research, right? What does this job pay, right? What's the salary range for this job? Salary is very important to people, right? If you get a job and you're doing that job but it's not paying you the money that you dream of making, all that's gonna lead is frustration, right? So I'm not saying that get job just because of the pay, but you have to understand that, right? Is the pay on par with what you expect? And if not, then you should factor that into your considerations. Also, you want to look at the type of educational experience. Are they certifications? Are they degrees? Are they diplomas? What kind of experience do you need? Do you need 10 years, 20 years experience to work in this kind of job? Right? What does a career trajectory look like? How can you progress within that job? You have to have an understanding of that, right? What does the job look like on a day-to-day basis? And this is where you can actually talk to somebody. Find somebody that's working in the field. Most people would advise you if you reach out. So if you go on LinkedIn and you search for that job, right? Some people would have the job in their title. Reach out to them, right? And politely, of course, and ask to have time with them. And once you have that, have a 30 minutes conversation with them, have a 15 minutes conversation with them over coffee. I just ask them, what does their trajectory look like? What does their day-to-day experience in the job look like? Most people want to share it, right? And if you're still in college or before, or in a situation where you can do internships, guys, this is when internship comes into play, where you have a hands-on experience in a little bit of a safe environment, right? The demands on you are not that much, but you're getting that experience to see how things look like day to day, and you get some exposure to the jobs, right? And here you can also look at how many hours do the people in that job work a week, right? I can't tell you how many people reach out to me, and they are trying to be, let's say, DBAs, for example, database administrators, and they have no understanding that, in DBA roles, there is that tendency, or there is a need very often for you to be on call, right? Just because the database needs to be out 24/7, and some teams will do rotations. And if being on call is not something that you want, right? If you're a kind of person that when you work and come home, you don't want to have any connection to be at work again, then maybe you need to really think twice about the kind of DBA roles you're going for, right? Because you might have to be on call, and this might be true for many other roles, right? There are roles that on Christmas you might have to be working, right? And is that something that you're okay with? And you have to really do your research to understand all those details about each role, right? There's no point taking a role or a career if you don't have that understanding. Especially in IT, some jobs might require travel, or in sales, some jobs might require travel. Are you okay with that? Is that something you're comfortable with? And if you're not, guys, then that's not a career you should be thinking about, right? So what makes you successful in that role, right? And these are things that you also have to understand. Let's take, for example, being an engineer. What makes a great engineer, right? What makes an engineer great versus one that is just an average engineer, right? And this takes very deep research and you being dedicated to understanding this, right? Because if your goal is to get into a role and be successful, you have to understand what contributes towards success, and do you have those skills that will contribute towards success in that role. So going back to the technical example, let's take, for example, an analyst or a big data analyst, for example, right? What does it take to be successful? Maybe some analytical skills, some discovery skills. You have to be able to look at data and draw correlations. You have to have the kind of capacity to think as a business person while being technical. So those are the kind of things that you need to understand as you're doing your research about the role, so you can zero in on the specific roles that you really should care about, right? And usually there are books, there are blogs, there are websites, right? That people in the industry read and follow. Subscribe to those websites, follow them, and educate yourself as much as possible about that role. Let's say your dream job could be to become a CIO, right, of an organization, chief information officer, right? That's a whole different kind of role versus being an engineer, right? So CIOs, they have blogs. You need to think big picture. You have to have a wide background, right? A wide experience or a lot of technologies, so you can know what to bring into the company. So there's just a lot of things that you need to know, right? And there are blogs that CIOs subscribe to. There are books about being a CIO. So those are the things that you definitely want to expose yourself to, right? One tip that I'll also give is Google has a platform called Google Alerts, right? You can go to something like Google Alerts. You can set up an alert on the specific topic or specific job role or whatever it is you're interested in, and you can get articles or blogs or just links about that topic for you regularly. You can set it up every day, every hour, every week, every month. But you want to be an information gathering machine. You want to capture as much information as possible. And as you're going through this exercise for whatever role, the question that you want to answer is one simple question: could I see myself doing this? Could I see myself doing this? Could I see myself being a CIO? Could I see myself being a DBA? Could I see myself being a nurse? Could I see myself being a doctor? Could I see myself being a mechanic? Whatever it is, could I see myself being a pilot, right? And if you cannot see yourself being that, guys, if you cannot visualize yourself being that, then there's really, you need to think twice about what it is you're trying to do, right? So once you've done that, and as part of that, you can understand, is this something that interests me, right? Once you've answered that question, then you know you're onto something. Then you know you're onto something, right? So now, once you know you're onto something, this brings us to step number 3, which is to get more inside scoop on the job, right? More inside scoop on the job. And at this point, you're conducting more informational interviews, right? So ask yourself, when was the last time you conducted an informational interview about a particular job or a particular career, right? Whether this is for people still in college, or you just graduated, or you're in the workforce, when was the last time you conducted an informational interview, right? A lot of people don't, guys. But if you're thinking about building a career, and this is something that you're going to be doing for a very long time and dedicating, a good part of your working life towards, guys, you really want to do your due diligence, right? And if something is not fit for you, the guys, don't even go in there, right? And you don't want to be making decisions if you don't have all the information that you need. An informational interview serves to give you critical information, right? So there are several ways, 3 things that you should be aware of as you're thinking about an informational interview, right? One of them is the opportunity to meet with someone that you're curious to learn from them. Again, this could be someone that's actually working in the field that you're interested in. Let's say you want to be a DBA, you want to find someone that's working as a DBA and talk to them, right? Meet with them in person. This ideally, don't just if you cannot meet in person, that's understandable. But if you have the opportunity to, even if it means driving or flying to a different city to meet somebody and have that conversation, guys, you definitely want to do it. Guys, you definitely want to do it, right? A lot of people would meet with you if only you reach out. I think the challenge here, people say, well, I don't know who to meet, I don't know who to reach out to. It's just because you haven't reached out, right? If you reach out to a lot of people, they want to meet with you. They really genuinely want to meet with you, right? People like to share their ideas and feel needed and feel important and feel like they're helping and contributing to other people's life, right? And it just takes humility to reach out to people and say, hey, humble yourself and say, I am so and so. I really admire you. I see that you're working at this company. You're doing this and this. I am very interested in doing that. I have learned. I've taken these courses, but I just really wanted to get some of your insights. I have just a very handful of questions. I know your time is valuable, but I would really appreciate just 30 minutes of your time, right? You don't want to meet with somebody and be asking for 1 hour, 2 hours meeting. Nobody's going to give you 2 hours of their time just like that, right? But for 30 minutes, I'm sure most people would want to be able to make that happen. But you have to reach out, right? And I like Ramit share some scripts here. This is why I like his blog and his content, right? Because he's a great writer. I can tell you that. He shares scripts and things like that you can definitely follow, right? So check out the hyperlink as you read the article itself, right? So during this interview, you're asking questions, you're building relationships, you're networking, right? And you're having more deep understanding of what it is that you want to do, right? And then once you have that, then you can go ahead and start applying for the job that you want. And going through this process, guys, would really ensure that it doesn't guarantee that you get the best career out of in your life, but you at least ensure that you get towards something that is better than a lot of the options that you've come across, right? So for me, I went through this process and I eliminated a lot of things, right? So I thought of being like an Android developer, and I just realized that I just don't. I'm more of a people's person. I'm more like somebody that likes to interact and talk and share ideas and think big picture. The last thing I want to do is sit home or sit on the desk all day, just coding some specific app, right? Some people might be good at that and they like it, but that just wasn't me. So that went out of the picture, right? And going through engineering and such until the role where I am at right now of doing more solutions architecture and technical sales, and I get the opportunity to meet a lot of people, interact with companies at a high level, setting or thinking of the strategy and their visions, and having meetings and interacting with people a lot. That is something that I care about, and so I feel happy doing that. Whereas if I hadn't gone through the process of trying out a lot of things and eliminating a lot of them, right, I wouldn't find myself in the position where I'm being able to do what I do now. All right, and it doesn't mean that this is what I do for the rest of my life, right? As in my current state, I'm still exploring, right, making these videos and creating a channel on YouTube, right, could take me down a path that leads to something else that I might not have thought about right now. But again, you still have to explore, you still have to try, you still have to eliminate the things that you don't want, so you have more time to dedicate towards the thing that you really do care about. And that's how, guys, you can really find your dream career. All right, I know this video is a little bit long, but just to summarize, guys, you really have to go through that process of elimination. I think that this picture here summarizes it all, right? So let's just recap from this particular picture. So the first thing, select potential dream job, right? A lot of them, write them down. Anything that you can think about, roles, title, director, VP, CIO, manager, whatever it is, right? Write them down, right? Do your research, do deep research about each of those roles, right? If you want to be a sales director, guys, you have some understanding of what sales directors do, right? If you don't, then do homework and research about it. If you want to be a DBA, a database administrator, do you have an understanding of what they do? If you don't, guys, then you're not in a good position. So go back and do some research. Then once you've done that, you want to do some natural networking. Key, right? Again, Warren Buffett once said, your network is your net worth, right? The people you know is sometimes more important than what you know. So you want to make sure that you meet people in that industry, people in that field, you connect, right? You go on meetups, you connect with them on LinkedIn, you join their LinkedIn groups. You have to do all that groundwork, guys. You have to. I meet people that are coming to me and they say, oh, they want to do big data. And I ask them, how many big data groups have you joined on LinkedIn? And they've joined 0. And then to me, it's just like, what's the point, right? What really, if you can't even take that step of trying to be where people who do big data congregate, what tells me that you really want to truly become a big data, right? It's just like seeing somebody that is a doctor or wants to become a doctor, and they don't, doctors have conferences, they don't attend those conferences, or they don't, they don't associate with doctors, right? How can you truly be a doctor and you have no association with any other doctor, with other doctors in your area? That doesn't really make any sense, right? So you want to definitely network. And then once you do that, and if the answer to all of this is yes, 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 and you're doing your elimination, you definitely land on something that is definitely more optimal. All right, guys. So I hope this helps. This was a great article from Ramit. Like I said, I will teach you to be rich. That's his blog. It's an amazing blog. He has a YouTube channel. Check it out. I'll leave a link to the description below so you can go in and read the article for yourself. There are a lot of links and resources that you can use. Somewhere below he has some scripts that you can use if you're trying to reach out to people. So definitely check it out. At the end here, he talks about some mistakes to avoid. I'm gonna be making some videos around that later on. But guys, if you're on the fence and you're still thinking about making career, right? You're thinking about choosing a career, right? And you don't know where to start, right? Are you unsure? Right, maybe you're still in college, or you're thinking about going to college, or you just graduated, or your current career is not giving you what you need. You're not happy, you're not excited by it. Guys, you can always change. There are options, right? There are options, and this steps, this read can give you some ideas. At least I found it very relevant when I read it, and I'm sure you guys too would find it relevant as you read it. And if you like it, guys, make sure you share it with somebody that might get value out of this, right? Career is such an important thing, we all have a career in this world, right? We're all gonna be doing something, and I think it's a better option to do something that you love, guys, than to be stuck and frustrated and dejected and disappointed doing something that you really don't care about for many years. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As always, make sure you check out this article, share it, like it, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.